Welcome back to the Win with Dice podcast, a podcast featuring members of the Win with Dice team, and this week, a special guest. Joining me, as always, is Ramon.
What's up, guys?
And this week, very excited to have on for the 5th or 6th time at this point, Trey.
Yo, hello, people.
Seventh time? I don't know.
It could be at this point.
This is the first time listening to the Win with Dice podcast. This is a podcast all about tabletop RPGs. Calvin and I like to take a casual approach to the hobby, so we like to talk about the games that we love and the games that we play and the cool, wonderful people we get to experience the hobby with, and also sometimes we have guests. So this is your first time listening to the Win with Dice podcast. Thank you very much. Or I guess also the first time if you're hearing about tabletop RPGs, go stop this recording, tap our permission, go find yourself a table, go have some friends, go have some fun, and when you come back, maybe after you played in a game, maybe it's your turn to jump behind the GM screen and give your table a fun time.
So this week, I'm very excited to pull in Trey's help to help me figure out what I'm going to run at the Origins 2025 Game Fair next year.
In person.
In person. Because I had ideas, but I don't have a solid thing yet. So I'm thinking, you know what would be a fun episode? Let's hang out with some people, let's talk about Lancer, and let everybody enjoy it.
Brilliant idea.
But before we get into all that fun stuff, we have to get to the most important part of the show, the Win with Dice Weekly GM Tip of the Week.
That's the Win with Dice Weekly GM Tip of the Week. Brought to you by me this time. We won't make our guests do it. I had a good idea, so let's run with it. So I've been, you guys might have heard on the channel, but I've been running a conversion of Pathfinder 1 Venture Path Rise of the Rune Lords. But, converting that to Pathfinder 2E has been a lot of fun, a lot of rewarding stuff. But there's a lot of fights in that game, in that adventure path. A lot of little goblins and stuff that, are supposed to wear down the party. But in all honesty, if you're running something or having an adventure path or have a combat plan, sometimes you want the thrill of a cool scene, you know what I mean? But without actually rolling up the combat, rolling the initiative, all that kind of stuff. Just convert it into a skill challenge. Honestly, if there was especially if your players are tough enough to be relatively one-rounding these goblins or whatever you're doing, just turn it into kind of a skill challenge. Set up some clocks. We spoke about clocks on the channel in the past, and have some sort of ticking down mechanic, have some sort of escalation thing where as the players kind of work through the scene, things get higher, things get lower, that kind of stuff. But you don't have to always run every single fight that's in the book. You can turn those encounters into whatever you want, just as long as it makes sense to you. That's kind of the thing I've learned, and it definitely cut down a lot of time. We got to the good parts about that adventure instead of going door to door, room to room, clearing it out. We had a lot of fun, kind of like a race against the clock kind of deal, infiltration style kind of thing. If you know the latter part of the first chapter of Rise of the Rulers, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's the tip, folks. Just if there's encounters that are kind of minor, don't bother with them. Just make a skill challenge out of it.
100% totally agree. Skill challenge. In the last campaign for Lancer I ran so many skill challenges where there's a bunch of drones attacking players, and they had to clear out some grunt NPCs in buildings. There's no better way to narrate that, play that, than to narrate it through a skill challenge.
Yeah, and it gets the players' imaginations going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is always kind of fun to do that. I think sometimes with these tactical crunchy games, you kind of get a little bit too much into the numbers
from the narrative, right?
Yeah,
it will take you away from the narrative. Yeah,
for sure. And it's a good way of getting back into the reason why you're I'm excited to play this game. Right?
Yeah. I found that sometimes I was playing Lancer, it's just so tactical, just exactly what you said, and you forget that you're playing a mech game, and you feel like you're playing interesting rules, but not a mech game.
Yeah, right. You gotta put the pizzazz on it, or else you're just playing Excel sheet the game, right?
Yeah, Excel.
And also it lets you focus, when you actually get into combat, it lets you focus on the more interesting characters. You don't have to worry about having all those smaller combats with those individual grunts the players can just basically stomp through in half a round, and you spend all that time setting up the combat and everything. You just narrate your way through them so that when you do get into an actual fight, which is going to be the thing that'll probably take up most of your session, you get to put all the really cool and interesting stuff in there, and it gets to be more of a focus.
Yeah, and you get to like still have the highlight of like a story being told without the numbers really kind of getting in the way of that. Where like instead of like just removing the combat outright, it's still a challenge for the players to overcome, and there was still like, you know, creativity put into whatever it was. Like even for example for that game, we had like 2 guard towers, right, of goblins, and like one team dealt with the problem in a funny way and the other team did a little bit more serious, I guess. But it was just kind of like,
Yeah.
well, they're silly ass dudes. Like they're goblins, so they're not good at guarding. So it's like, you know, one guard tower they were playing cards, the other guard tower they were asleep in a food coma. They stole some pickles. So it was kind of like, you know, it's like a silly, goofy moment, you know. But yeah, it's still fun, but you don't have to always roll the dice for that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I was actually listening to a old podcast of Heavy Gear, which is like a mech game or like a war gamey mech game. It was like a 2nd edition game, and just listening at how they were like narrating mech combat, because you to narrate situations like that for like mech games, I feel like you need to use the like right lingo sometimes, like scanners, sensors, opponent, like because it's all, you know, sci-fi-y. And I was like taking notes of like how to like describe those narrative situations, because sometimes when I want to do narrative situations for like mech themed games, I get caught up in like, oh shit, I gotta use the right lingo, or it doesn't feel real, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And like that's kind of we have way less cultural like impact from sci-fi stuff than I think fantasy stuff, and at least in the last like 10 years, like we've been so bombarded with this is all the fantasy, right? So it's like a lot easier, I think, to kind of draw from that kind of cultural zeitgeist.
Yep.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Tabletop especially,
tabletop especially, man. For sure. Yeah. That's your tip of the week, folks. You can skip those combats, don't worry about it. Just, you know, put a cool little skill challenge, a little narrative section, and your players won't even miss them.
And they'll appreciate it.
Save your time for the interesting stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's hop into this episode. So, as I said up top, I'm planning to run some games in person for the Origins convention in Ohio next year in 2025. I did run one session as part of Untold Stories project. We had this big crossover superhero game in Mutants and Masterminds. Basically, we started off with different tables that represented like different superhero teams that exist on the shows and streams on the channel. And then some weird timeline reality bending stuff happened and all the teams got mixed up and everybody had to deal with the fallout of that. And I ran one of the tables. It was a lot of fun. I was very nervous. I was pretty exhausted the next day, but I had a lot of fun with it. So I wanted to run a game proper next year, and the game that I wanted to run is Lancer. So I've been trying to come up with some scenarios, but I thought, you know what could possibly be more fun than bringing on a couple of my favorite Lancer people and having an actual conversation about it. So that's kind of what we're gonna hop into, and hopefully this is a fun episode, and maybe next year I'll just share it over again so people can, if people want to know what goes into this adventure, they can swing by and listen to it.
Nice. And you've never run Lancer in person, right, Calvin?
No, not in person. I run it online, but yeah.
And Ramon, you haven't either, have you?
I ran it when it first came out in person.
Yep.
Yeah, I did, and I haven't really, like, maybe I did like 1 or 2 sessions in person. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot easier online. Like I think like the tools of running the game and even just kind of what it was designed as is, I think it's to play online.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think that was Tom's vision. This supposed to be a tabletop simulator thing, like a role-playing simulator thing.
Yeah, when I ran it, so I ran Lancer in person at the local Con of the North, which is like up in Brooklyn Park, northwest of Minneapolis, 2 years in a row. And I ran it more times in person, but I found that's when I was like good at running Lancer. For in person, I just use the same NPCs. Like I'll use like an assault or a barricade or a bastion and maybe one techie, not a witch, but maybe like a a Hive or something like that, and then I make it like 30% less complicated than like online, you know, because I use basic NPCs. I don't put any templates or trait like extra traits on them, and then I fudge all the rules get fudged. Like sometimes I let players overcharge twice. It's more about fun, I think, in person, and less about the rules I've found. And people just kind of want to do cool shit, and then it's like, yeah, it's easier to fudge the rules in person, I think.
For sure. I mean, it's like actually impossible to do it online because all the roles show up in the same place. So it's like, that's the one thing is I don't really like rolling online because you can't fudge die rolls. Yeah. Although lately I haven't been, but you know, I would love to have the option back.
Right? To fudge the rolls, as a GM. Yeah. And then like keeping track of like all like the statuses and conditions, like it just becomes a lot. Like oftentimes I'll just like not even deal with stun because it kind of feels sucky for players, and I'll say I'll give you 5 more damage if you don't want to be stunned or something.
Yeah, I like the bargain. I should do that.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I'm much more willing to bend the rules in person than I will sometimes be online, because again, like it is that little bit easier to be flexible because there's no system keeping you like in place with the actual rule set.
I would damn, I forgot what I was gonna say, but I have another thought. Like I would like even like the sit rep, you know, like when you look at the Lancer book on like page 267, it tells you like about sit reps and you know everything's supposed to have a sit rep. Like I would run the most easy ass sit rep, like a holdout, or like maybe a gauntlet where it really only involves you moving or staying put. I think letting player will take its course. So if they want to run out and shoot people, they can do that. But like having a control seems kind of complicated in person, and maybe an extraction's kind of complicated too. It's like a lot.
Yeah, and like even like moving an objective and like kind of like realizing, because even then too, like you can't just boost the thing over there. You can't just move it. You have to like with your standard move, and you have to start there. That part's a little bit complicated. Like I get it's for the rules, right? So you can't just like have an atlas just dog this thing all the way across the map, and then you're like, oh, okay, I guess it's over, right?
Yeah. And then I feel like a certain degree of like some of like escort or extraction is easier to interact with when you're online than rather in person. Because like online you're like, okay, I get this is a game, I'm playing online, this feels kind of gamey. But in person I'm like, why can't I just do this? There's only boost twice, and then not start my turn adjacent to the doohickey to move it.
Let me just boost twice.
And get the thing over there quickly. Fun is your ally, Calvin, on an in-person. Rules are your enemy.
That is definitely how I felt when I was running something. Also because I was a little stressed out, but like what I ended up doing is like the combat I was running, it was taking place in a superhero high school situation. So one enemy I had thrown in there was this like corrupted vending machine that I had come up with at the very last minute. It was just shooting like sodas at people. And people found it fun. They found it like a pretty interesting enemy. It was really a very last minute thing to me, so I wasn't very worried about like the specific rules for it. But as we went on, like certain stuff, I was becoming a bit more flexible with, especially because I mean it's a superhero game. Everybody can like move fast or fly. So some of the traps I had planned out were like, I'll just fly over it. And I was like, oh, okay, I can't stop you. Go right ahead. So I'm going to try to be flexible. I can't really I can't plan to be flexible. It'll happen in the moment, right? But
yeah, I mean, I would also say what I'll do is, I mean, I'll use CompCon to track turn order, but I also write down NPCs on index cards that maybe 10 or so, and like have like an assault, or I have whatever other NPC, and if I just want to throw something at players, I just like pull it up and give them like almost like a D&D-esque experience where a goblin pops out and you have to fight it, an assault pops out of like some recon mission, you have to fight him, and then you probably destroy him and you figure out where he's from or some shit. Like it's easier to do that because like if you don't do it like on the like quick rules way, you could do it narratively, like we were just talking about. But then you have to like go into ComCon and pull up all their stats and track their heat if you don't just have it on like an index card or whatever.
So like a more narrative, like ambush sort of thing, where it doesn't matter like, the specifics of the enemy. It's just like roll some sort of, I mean, if anything, like roll some sort of skill check. Or skill trigger rather. Yeah. And then narrate that. Yeah.
Unless you like just know the NPCs back to back, like I know how much the assault NPCs, the assault's heavy machine gun does, or heavy assault rifle, and how much HP it has and how much heat it has. You can kind of like improvise it real quick, easy like. But if you don't have that knowledge, then like writing it down on an index card is helpful.
Yeah, for sure. I think like the biggest thing is like preparing the paraphernalia, right? Like get everything that what you're gonna do to track heat, what you're gonna do to quickly like get the information in front of you, because you don't have the access of like searching something, right? It's more fun to kind of, if everyone's at the table, to maybe actually let's talk about this first. Are you gonna run pre-gen characters? Is that that dealio?
Yeah, like let's get into some of the specifics, because one of the things I've been trying to figure out is I do want to have pre-gens, because obviously we're not gonna have time to make characters. Or rather, we're not going to have enough time, because I think the session's just going to be like 4 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make pre-gens, but one thing I haven't figured out is what level those pre-gens should be. Because I feel like Lancer really opens up when you get to license level 2, and I have like a dozen license level 2 pre-gens, but they might be a bit too complicated to start with. And I could maybe start with some license level 0 pre-gens. I know CompCon gives you like 5. It's just a matter of like, is that going to be as fun? Because, well, you do have some extra frame options, but you don't have as many frame options as level 2. Like at license level 2, everybody can have a different frame. Everybody's a different thing, so the mechs feel more diverse, and I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I think what you might want to do is just run license level 1.
Yeah.
Just so everyone's in either a GMS, and you could use the GMS variants. To kind of change them, because they're simple enough that on a quick read they can just be like, oh, I get what this thing does.
Yeah.
And the only other trait that they all have is that they can just be repaired a lot easier, right?
Yeah. And I feel like this is maybe a little nuanced, but I feel like Lancer at license level 0 and license level 1 is a different game than Lancer at 2, 3, and everything beyond that. It's like at 0 and 1, it's like your core mech game, like, oh, we all have a similar version of mech, we all outfitted it differently, we got similar stats, we can shoot things, stab things, boost, and we get some like funky cool gear. It's like a different type of game almost, and then just explodes into like a infinite build area.
I think that like just once you get the extra frame traits and stuff like that is like when, oh man, like it hurts your brain a little bit.
It opens up. Yeah. I say that to say, like, because it's like kind of like a different, more predictable, simpler game at 0 and 1 Kelvin, it's easy to make, and you shouldn't feel pressure to make like have them make their own character. It's easy to use pre-gens because it's like everyone's kind of playing the same thing, sort of, you know, and you're kind of getting into the mech genre. I imagine you're gonna have a bunch of like players who probably are sort of familiar with Lancer. Yeah, I think pre-gen's probably the way to go.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting. Like, I'm still like I do want to use pre-gens. It was just a matter of figuring out what level they should be. Part of me was also thinking like
1.
Yeah. I think you can have like some first level stuff from other.
Yeah, for sure. I think level 1 would work, and like I'm just kind of thinking about like the kind of archetypes of like the mech genre that we've been playing with Lancer, like the strikers and artilleries and like supports and all that kind of stuff. And I think with all the GMS variants, they all have like one-liners of like do a free action that is the thing that you're good at. And usually for the first level of every license level, it's like you get a weapon that's usually fits the idea of like what your mech's trying to do, and like a support system that it reinforces like a specific gameplay, right? Like Nelson gets the spear and I think, was it the armor lock? Something like that.
Yeah.
At the beginning. So like you're the dude in front. You're the dude who's gonna go in there or whatever. So it's like, you can.
Yeah, and Warpike,
Warpike, right. So it's like, that's probably good. And having the ability to get like the free action would help you be able to not balance the game, but at least like tell people like you could just do something for fun, for free. Like you know, like same thing where you're like, I want to boost twice, and be like, yeah, you totally can, right?
Yeah, and I feel like some good ones to do, Calvin, are like have an NPC that has Monarch 1 because you get access to Shingara missiles and javelin rockets. You get like a missile boy, and then like Ramon said with the Nelson, you get a Warpike and the Bulwark mods, which are like you move through difficult terrain without the issues, and you have a big stabby spear. Like any of the like frame that you can like do the thing that you want to do at the first level, those would be ideal ones to pull in that first license level for like LL1.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking actually, maybe I can do like scaled down versions of my license level 2 pre-gens. Like just have them whatever they would be at level 1.
Yeah, I would have like a Goblin 1 gives you puppet systems and autopod. Like that's like all the reason you want to. That's what most people do when they build a Goblin is to get puppet systems and use autopod.
That's why someone makes any tech person. Like it's hard not to pick the Goblin one because like puppet systems is like really strong.
Yeah,
and it's like impactful, right? Like you can. Like if someone reads that, you could just make someone move for like no reason, right? Like that's like the fantasy, right? Of being a cool tech hacker, you being like, you know, you get in their systems and do all the cool stuff.
Yeah, like I'm looking like Genghis is a good one. You get a flamethrower.
Oh yeah,
is a good one. You get like it's like heavy support. You get accelerate and blink charges, like teleporting people everywhere. There's some good ones in there. Like only bad one I see is like Death's Head. You get mag clamps and a tracking bug. Like. You don't get the reason.
Yo, because they don't want to give you the
big
juice.
Yeah,
they don't give you the juice. I'm so mad at that. Every time I look at it, I'm like, fuck, dude. Like you're so close. I would switch one of those things. Like I'm down to get either the core siphon or I want the rifle. I really want the rifle. Like half the time I'm trying to build SDC shit. I'm like, I just want the gun. I don't even want the mech. Give me the gun, damn it.
Yeah. Blackbeard one's a good one too. You get a chain axe and synthetic muscle netting. So yeah, that's that's a power fantasy right there.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if you put an enemy with armor and then they get shredded and you're like, oh, I did the thing.
Do you guys know who Macho Man Randy Savage is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Blackbeard one is chain axe and synthetic muscle netting. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna grab you and tear you into pieces. That's a good pre-gen character.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point because again, like I was bouncing between like you have the different sorts of designs you can do at level 2, but and you have the simplicity at level 0. I actually don't know why I didn't think to just meet them in the middle.
Yeah, I would stay away from stuff that requires heat management too.
Yes.
Like just you know, don't worry about like all of the, I guess like all of the HA mix.
Yeah,
they're all about.
The kind of cool though. Oh, it doesn't.
Yeah, the flamethrower is fine.
Oh, it doesn't involve heat management. It's like Cone 5 energy. No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, I don't mind having like in the list of pre-gens. I don't mind having something that says like a level of complexity. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
like I can put something like that in, especially if I have a good number of options. I think that's probably okay. Okay, well that solves one major problem. So yeah, I can work on those pre-gens. So I'll have like a list of like 10 or so maybe. I think maybe I'll have like 4 or 5 players. I do want to have like a good amount. I think I'll have a minimum 8, just so no one feels like they have to be forced to pick something. Like if I have exactly 5 and I have 5 players, then there's gonna be someone who feels like you know like they have to pick a certain thing. So I'm gonna at least everybody have options.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, the adventure itself is the thing that I have been noodling with. And I will mention, so the people at home know, that I did, while at the convention, I did get some Battletech maps. I got like a double-sided Battletech map. And then I saw how much they were, and I was like, I should have bought 2.
How much were they?
Well, like to also ship them over here.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot more expensive. But yeah, so what I wanted to do is use those maps, or I could also just use like a drawn map on a erase board. But I got these maps specifically to run stuff on them, and they do look really cool. The art on them is really cool. They do have like text and symbols and stuff for BattleTech, but I mean that's fine. So what I have is like one big tundra map that has like some. It's basically like a few paths through some small mountainous areas, and then the other side of it is this map that has a large base on one side and sort of a forested area on the other side.
I like that large basement. It's like a great way for. It seems like the second encounter, and the other one seems like the first encounter. The foresty one, hilly foresty one.
If you're real ambitious, you can plan out like 2 scenarios and then have a narrative at the beginning to decide which one they get to.
Oh,
like
that is something I considered actually. Yes,
that's the real ambitious stuff, but it's up to you, man. Like I don't wanna...
I like one time when I ran Lancer in person, I like had a map or whatever, but I leaned into the mech fantasy of like you're piling giant weapons of destruction, and I put them up against a bunch of grunts and some squads, like 3 or 4. Like it was way lower than what you would typically use for 4 players, and they just obliterated them, and it was just a way in which they would be introduced to the game, and then also find out where the real fight was somewhere else. Like under leveling it, or under stacking the enemies.
Yeah, just to get them to roll some dice a little bit, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Like I could start off with that. Like I think I could start off with like a more narrative combat. It's like the theater of the mind sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where we're not really using the map specifically, but just as a chance to roll some dice and know where to find stuff on your sheet.
Yep.
And then I one of the things I was thinking of was like having a couple different options of how things could play out, and one could be on one map, one could be on the other, or one map could lead into the other. I was thinking sort of a gauntlet situation with that base, trying to take it, but it could also be like a holdout trying to hold it as well. Like that could have been the 2 halves of the session. So
you could do like a reverse holdout where like the NPCs are trying to hold the base, and is that gauntlet?
It's kind of gauntlet, because your goal is to get to a certain point, and then there's places in your way where enemies are coming in.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I have a bunch of ideas, but nothing solid yet, and also I don't have any sort of like narrative hooks yet, because I don't know what I want to do. They could be mercenaries, they could be working for Union. That's sort of what I'm doing on my streamed one-shots.
Yeah.
Because it's a pretty simple and easy way to hop into a Lancer game.
Yeah.
I think having them work for Union and just have like, I don't know, some setcom nonsense being like, here's the space fascists, you gotta go get them.
Take them
People
out.
People are like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, like they're dug into a base here or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, in those 1-hour sessions, you're not going to get too deep in. If you think of the narrative of like a typical Lancer game at 10 levels, you're going to get like level 3 deep in like the lore of Lancer, so it can be like super high level. Like, who are the good guys' names? Who are the bad guys' names? How are they doing things that make shit bad? And then you guys fix it.
Exactly. Yeah, I was thinking something that's like, I mean, obviously it's not going to matter in a long-term thing, but it could be something where the players choose, like, maybe they want to be rewarded more as opposed to doing the good guy thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know how I would include that. I don't want to, like, overcomplicate it.
Oh, they, in the Long Rim book, they have rules for mana, rewarding people with mana, like money.
Oh, yeah.
I could do
There's
something
rules
like that.
for that.
Yeah,
I forgot that yeah. Should do that.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's like a whole leveling system based off money.
Yeah, like license costs different and like talents cost different point. Oh, dude, what the hell am I doing right now?
Yeah.
I just like got back into Lance all of a sudden.
So money.
That would be a cool thing to do a campaign with, actually.
I've never seen anyone do it.
Because it's hard. It's like more complicated, right? Like it's just an extra step that they actively removed when they designed it the first time.
Yeah, and you're not playing Lancer for money. It's for money management anyway. So it's like, why even?
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
unless you want like a mercenary power fantasy game.
Which I think what long room is kind of like that's the context, right? Like
Yeah.
you're just out trying to make it in like this the shittiest part of space. Like
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think like have the bad guys have a base and have the players infiltrate it and highlight maybe like in your like the player pre-gens, just have a dude who like can go fast, have a dude who's long range, have a tech support dude, like I don't know, maybe have a dude who can fly, like, you know, just kind of highlight the cool
yeah.
parts about Lancer, right? Because this I'm looking at this the building map and I'm like, wow, this map's really interesting. Like it looks fun. Like there's all these cool little parts to it, and this base feels kind of cool, and there's all these areas where you can naturally feel like enemies are gonna show up from. So yeah.
Yeah, I think as far as the two maps go, I think the base one is the more interesting one.
Yeah, I agree.
This sort of lends itself to ideas more. But yeah, I do like the idea of people having some choice to make that changes like the plot, but I mean, I'm kind of coming off of Armored Core 6 with like I haven't gotten all the way through the game, but I have played a couple of missions where it's like you have to choose one of these to do, and it's going to change how the story turns out.
Yeah, I think have you made? Oh, you haven't made a new game plus, have you? I was gonna reference this one mission, but I won't tell you because that'd be a good, maybe a cool way to do it.
I'm basically just after the ice worm.
Oh, okay, yeah.
On my first time through, so
I don't know. Maybe so. I did. Remember that game Celestial Bodies I told you about? Yeah, so I made an encounter table for that game, and it was like a narrative encounter table where you roll 320 for conflict, environment, complications, and hostiles. You could probably pick one of these, Calvin, and like the environment would automatically probably be one of those two maps, but the complications or hostile, the conflict could help. Like if you look at like if you roll a 12 human rights crisis, maybe call for aid. And then a base, and then like a complications are is like rough terrain or there's civilians there, and the hostiles are mercenaries. Like that could be.
Oh, I see. So like it has like a table that you can work with of like creating these.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, actually, a cool rescue mission. Like maybe if the players have to go and get into the base, right? Like I forget which sit rep that is. You could have them be like mercenaries, and then you have to like rescue somebody, right? So you can't just like blow up the base, right?
Yeah,
because you don't know where they are.
It's extraction. You have to like go get them and bring them back.
Oh, you could get rid of the bringing the back part. You could just be like get into the base and like secure the base.
Because extraction is kind of weird because you add in an NPC every round, but it starts off with no NPCs, and then you add on like 2 every round.
Oh, that is kind of weird.
It is kind of weird,
yeah. I see like these 2 helipads here. I don't know, maybe put like markers here being like, oh look, there's like civilians trapped on the helipad, but they can't take off because the bad guys are there and it's a war zone. You gotta like clear them off of the whatever, and it's like, oh, you gotta have no bad guys in the zone. And it's like not too hard, but the bad guys can like hide because I'm assuming these walls probably either block line of sight or something. And then you have like a dude who has like an arcing weapon or like whatever those missiles are that are arcing. You'd be like, oh, I can hit them, and then people are like, oh, cool, right? Have some dudes in the field here. You got some difficult terrain. You got some cover. You got some water. I don't know. This seems pretty legit.
I like. What about so this other map looks kind of dusky and sunsetty. What if like the first one's like infiltrate the base, and you go through the day, and you like maybe do a narrative encounter or some type of like low risk combat encounter. We take out a couple scouts or some shit and just destroy some satellites, and then daybreak, and you find what do they pass or fail, whatever the situation is, they end up at the edge of the map at daybreak and have to assault this base.
Yeah, maybe it could be like how far they start. Like maybe they like how good they do in this like narrative kind of low stakes one. That's how close they start to the base. Like that might be kind of cool.
Like on the sides or something, or like
or like maybe you could even go from the back. Like I could imagine like if you like these 2 side roads at the back, they could just be like, you can start on that side.
And then they maybe get like a special once per combat jump thrust where they shoot over the moat that's in the back,
Yeah, that'd be pretty dope. Yeah.
I was thinking of having like rewards of like reserves and stuff. Especially if we're playing like a very low level game, I did want to have like maybe something that's just like an extra core power use and stuff like that, like minor stuff like that, that the players can be
a lot
rewarded
though.
with. I mean, yeah,
core power
I don't know
is-
specifically
I mean,
what, but something like
We
that.
gotta find one. We gotta find one.
you could have the core powers be turned off, and then if they do the thing, they get their core powers turned
Oh,
on.
Ramon,
Dragon Kid
that's
did that
smart.
for his stuff because it was like, if everyone could just pop their core power for a one shot, everyone's
It's trivialized.
a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ooh, I like. Okay, what about for that combat encounter, Calvin?
Yeah.
They have to either take out some security shit or like find the equipment that their allies drop for them. But if they don't find it in time, it gets destroyed, and that's how they get their core powers.
Oh, so
Yeah.
like the first map, like they're in there specifically, like they're looking for some of their equipment.
Yeah.
Either something they need to use their core powers, or maybe using their core power would make them super easy to detect at first.
Or they just don't have it. Like you could run
yeah.
a recon where it's like you have 4 zones, they scan it, and then they find out where their core powers are at or whatever. If they succeed in the
okay,
mission.
okay.
But it's like they're gonna succeed anyways. It's just kind of like a convenience if you have your core powers.
Okay. So, like, they're taking on some smaller enemy patrols, I guess. They're finding what they need to activate their mech's core powers.
Yeah, I would use like 2 Hornets, Scout, Assault, and call it that. Because Hornets can jam them and stop them from doing stuff, and impale them and stop them from doing stuff. Or you can use a Sentinel instead of an Assault and have the Impaler thingy that the Sentinel has, just like stop them and give them like 6 rounds to find 4 or 5 core power thingies.
Yeah, that would work. I think the Hornets would also provide an avenue for the hacker in the group or somebody with
Yeah.
like reliable damage to really kind of shine, because like those things suck ass.
Yeah, and they're
So,
never gonna try and shoot them and be like, you're gonna miss.
And they just buzz away,
Yeah.
like Hornets still often do.
This is
Okay, so we start off on this, I guess, this tundra map. The players are dropped off in there. Their goal is to infiltrate this base further along, but first they have to stop and pick up some equipment left by some allies that are in the field. So maybe the bad guys are people who have like taken over this area. It could be, I don't know, like a region, or I guess like a small moon or something sci-fi and cool. That these people have taken over. There's some resistance here who Union or some other mercenary company is like stopping by to help. So the players get dropped off here. There's enemy patrols in the area, but there is some equipment left for them to use. So their goal is to find it in a recon mission.
Yeah. Make them mechanized cultist. Cultists who believe in the Church of the Mech and believe that mechanized frames will save us and elevate us into a greater humanity. And so they capture a base.
I actually like. I don't know the full story for Armored Core yet, but I really like Coral as a concept. It's like I saw a meme post of like an explanation of Armored Core's plot of like cocaine is alive.
Yeah,
It was really funny. It could be something like that because it's basically that. Imagine if gasoline had ghosts.
Yeah, like a sentience there. Yeah.
Like, yeah, it could be something that like maybe there is some resource on this planet that these people have shown up to steal.
Maybe it's the belief that the cultists think that this resource will make is alive, and you can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
actually, this could be like a refinery for whatever the cosmic goop that is important.
Yes.
And then the people are like trying to take over. They're like, we have to stop this. Or
Yeah.
maybe it's like, this is our new holy place. And then it's like, but like you can't blow it up. You can't
Yeah.
just blow it up.
Yeah, you gotta
And
be
there's
careful.
people there like these crazy cultists have taken over. They believe like what's happening here is not actually happening here.
Like they believe, I don't know, if they ingest this thing, it will
Yes.
help them somehow.
And it'll make them a lancer.
And all it does is kind of make them like
Dead.
wild and unafraid. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's dead.
Yeah, but for a period of time, they're just like juiced up on this thing, so they're extra dangerous.
Yeah, I mean,
that could be
yeah.
a cool thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so again, like it starts off with like this recon thing. There's some enemies around. I do have to figure out my number of players. I think that's just going to be more of a technical discussion. I think I could do 4. I think my maximum would be 5. I think anything beyond that, it's going to get lost in
Hell no.
complexity.
Yeah. I've always ran. I ran last time with 4 players, and the one before that with 4 players. I found that like everyone had enough time to like talk and take their turns. Yeah.
So I could sit at 4. I might have to figure out some specific stuff because I know there's other like convention terms and rules and stuff to deal with. But let's just work with 4 for the moment, because I don't think it's going to be too complex to adjust the enemies for 5 players.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, 4 players. They head in through this area. They do some recon. They find a thing, and then from that point, they know where like I guess the main refinery is, and that's what this base is for. It's like a watch point or like a guard point for this area, as well as like transport.
Yeah, maybe they after the first whatever it is, or there's a narrative encounter, or it's like actual combat encounter. They find out more about the refinery, and they find out that like there's people there that are trapped because maybe one person escaped, and they decide to come out of their cave because they saw that the players helped or by taking out the bad people. They're like, oh wait, hey, there's good people at the refinery. We need to save them.
Like they're like in the middle of combat at some point, like that's like a signal flare goes up or something. It could be that like this is the person who went to drop off these supplies, but they didn't know they had been followed, and that's why there's an enemy patrol there.
Yeah.
Okay, so they discover this NPC, and I'll give them some fun voice or whatever because I like doing that stuff.
Call him Billy Bob Thornton.
Sure, we can go with that. Okay, so they find Billy. They find
Billy Bob.
Yeah. And then who directs them to again this base, which is, I guess it would be meant for like either storage or transport because there's helipads here, there's roads here. So they probably like again they refine the material here. And then they ship it out. Yeah. But it's been taken over. Its security systems have been taken over by these, not Coral, but fake Coral. These 4-ol cultists.
Oh, they're like Rad from Armored Core.
Yeah. Actually, yes.
They're cultists. Yeah, they're like old druggies.
Yeah, because they and then they can have like really cool like scrappy machines too.
Does Rad stand for Rubicon Arms Development?
I think it's something like that. I just call it RAD, so I don't remember.
RAD.
Again, they contact this person who will deliver them some information about this base, and I guess depending on how things go in the combat, that could affect how they're able to approach here, or maybe the enemy alertness.
Yeah, maybe it's like, well, Ramon, what do you think? Like, they could have bombards or mean NPCs. But I feel like the base would only have bombards if they knew the players were coming, which would mean they would fail the first encounter, fail-ish or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, bombards are mean if they're in the back corner. You know what I mean? Like, like I was thinking that like you just put all the enemies like probably on the base itself, you know, and then have the players like approach wherever they feel comfortable with. Like, I mean, I was saying that like maybe they could even just like approach from the back here, from these back roads if they did really well, because then it's like, you know, they could be like in the mix like really fast, right? But that's, but like I don't know how that would work out. But like, yeah, a bombard, like I guess you could have like a centerpiece dude. A bombard's always a nice centerpiece dude.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you
but
could.
Yeah, you're right. He is mean.
You could do 2 grunt bombards on the towers in the back, and like only 1 HP to like take those fuckers out. But if you start in the back, you could just take them out automatic, like boom, boom. Like if they're going from the left, like those two grunt bombards would be pretty mean.
Yeah,
Okay.
they would, right? So, I mean, maybe they only have one grunt bombard if they're coming from that side, just so you have some flexibility, right? You don't have to always make it equal. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, get the threat. You could even say that they have one, like a bombard, or like a big cannon or something like that. That is a problem, and Billy Bob could let you know, like, yeah, and then not have it show up immediately, and then maybe like turn 2 or 3 it shows up, and the players are like partway through the map, and they're like, oh god, it's that big ass gun they talked about, right? Like that might be something where you can have like that little bit of play, and you could have it show up earlier or later depending on how good the rolls are going, right?
Yeah. It could be you could just have random NPC that is the short cycle lance, which is way mean for super mean for players. But you would just have it fire every 2 rounds or something. And just like plop it down where it can't be, maybe say it can't fire sideways, but it can fire like once you get past like the first green area, if you're moving from the left side, it can't turn around and shoot you. Yeah,
just put it up at the front, but like once you can't spin around. It's like bolted into the ground.
Oh, so it can only fire for. Well, yeah, because then if Billy Bob Thornton is able to give the players like a different way to get in, like if they can cross the river like further south on the map, then that means they can avoid it completely, and they only have to deal with like the grunt bombards or whatever.
Yeah. When you produce this. When y'all produce this episode, you should take clips from Billy Bob Thornton's movies and be like Roger or something like that.
We'll see how much YouTube lets me get away with. Okay, so so I guess the success of the first thing is the rescue and doing it within maybe a certain time frame.
Yeah.
And that'll determine which way they come into this base.
Yeah.
The base itself will have like a large cannon up front and 2 smaller ones that exist in the rear that you can get a bead on if you do get access to this extra entrance or this stealthier entrance.
Yeah.
And then inside there, whatever sort of other mechs will exist. I really like having a big guy. As far as like mech combat goes, as far as like having like a boss enemy goes.
Yeah, Goliath. Yeah, give him Goliath. Veteran Goliath. 2 health bars, 25 HP, technically 50 HP.
Yeah. Perfect. Just like the leader of these things is the person who's been able to take on the most of this this not coral substance and survived.
Yeah.
And yeah, he gets to be in the middle of all of this.
It's like a perfect space for him right at the back gate entrance because they're size 3. They take up all that space. Yeah.
Just right there.
Not a lot of room.
Dude is just so tall, just like standing in the middle of this place.
Yeah, maybe like a Bombard, Goliath, a Short Cycle Lance, Doohickey, and 2 squads. That's kind of, it's a lot of damage. But a Goliath doesn't really do a lot of damage, but yeah.
The Goliath won't do anything. The Short Cycle Lance will kill somebody. Like that one is the one I'm like, I don't know about that one, Chief. Like,
it would encourage them to fucking finish that first encounter. Like, if you tell them in advance time, like, oh, they've got a weapon, like, they'll finish it quick instead of dicking around. Maybe.
Yeah, that's fair. Your call, Calvin. You figured that one out. I was like, maybe you put like a sniper. A sniper might be kind of cool. Like that one's always interesting because it's like you have to choose to move or not, or if you move, you get to reload, and then people have to be like, ah, shit, what do I do, right? Like, but sniper's gonna kill you either way too.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a tough one.
Calvin, think about that one mission in Armored Core where you fight Sulla,
Yeah.
And you storm that base, you get dropped off from a helicopter. There's like 3 giant turrets that shoot at you continually, and you have to like take cover.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Like when I'm looking at the Short Cycle Lance, it's maybe I mean, maybe something similar that does like actual damage. Because I do like the idea of it, of just this big beam that cuts through everything. And then
if
it
the
really
misses you, it reduces you to 1 HP.
Yeah, that's just what I'm looking at. It's like, I'm a little on the fence about, although
That might seem unfair, yeah.
but yeah, that's just the thing. Like, I feel like if I'm playing with people who have played, then they'll get like, oh, this is a super dangerous thing, as opposed to someone on their first time where it's like, oh, this thing is just cheating.
This thing's just cheating. What did I use?
Although I will
beam
say,
weapon.
I'm probably gonna keep that in my back pocket because I'm playing another one-shot stream on the channel, and those people have played before. So yeah, I got some
All
fun
bets are
stuff
off
now.
against
Yeah.
those guys. Those guys are gonna get it.
Yeah, you should play this. Are you gonna play the same encounter with them first before you play at the Origins?
That would be a fun thing to do. I don't know if I'm going to do, like, I'm scheduled to run a one-shot in December. Maybe it'll be this, if I feel confident enough.
You know what you should run?
Yep.
Mechanized body.
True.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
It's a cool Excel sheet and everything.
Yeah. Ramon kicked butt. Ramon like came out with a fucking superpower.
Yeah.
Many superpowers. Many superpowers. One of which was making a cool Excel sheet.
Yeah. I mastered the how to draw a card with just cells. Like, yeah. For this one, I think like I would lean to some sort of like long range defense, or just have like dudes on the grass be there as like some sort of like defense, right? Like just put like an assault there, or like depends how techie you want to go. Like maybe, I don't know, like one of the laser beam dudes. There's like tons of dudes with guns.
Scour would be good.
Yeah.
Scour, yeah, Scour would be good. You could have the Scourer just be a big ass beam weapon and make that the cannon.
Yeah.
Oh, make the Scour a turret?
Yeah.
Yeah, and extend the range a little bit maybe, or like have it have like a range, because I think it's like, what, like 8? That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 8, and also the Scour has that trait. If it is moved, then it doesn't get to regenerate its heat. But if it's a turret, it's not moving anyway, so it kind of like falls into that narrative of like, all right, this gun is meant to be put in place and shoot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I did that.
I actually like that,
I think in one of our streams, I made the Scar into like a gun that the players could just hijack and use.
Nice.
But yeah, 8 seems pretty good because it's like, you know, it's like halfway through the green, I think. It's like a good enough. So it's like, if the players do end up on that side, then it's like they have to, when they are approaching, there's at least one turn of them like gonna get shot at, and then the next turn they can just deal with it, right? Like,
right.
Oh, that is good. That is really good. It's that's good.
I could make it the I could put the pulse laser on it, so it is a line effect if I want to have that line.
The pulse laser from the Aegis?
From the Scour.
Oh.
I'm just looking at it now. It has like a pulse laser as an optional system.
Oh. Look at the Aegis's laser weapon. It's like really good. The pulse laser, I didn't even know the Scour had another weapon.
Oh, it's like an optional thing.
I had no idea.
he's got two guns? Whoa.
Yeah. Oh my god, line 10, damage 4. Oh my god.
Chuck is like, I know what I'm doing next.
That's mean.
Shit. Yeah, do that, and then bombards, and then the Goliath. When they try and get into the base, that dude's gonna be like, actually, I'm gonna grab you now.
Yeah.
And step on you.
And throw you.
And then monologue. And you're like, ha ha ha. Right. I don't know. What do you think? Is like a berserker or something too much of a thing?
I mean,
have one dude who's wild.
They're cultists.
It's true. They are
Make
cultists.
invincible Rummy.
Oh. Yeah, I could have a berserker guy. I do want to have like some patrols in like the left side of the map, just out in the more field area. So
yeah,
could be hanging out there. Like if I split up like the other mechs, I'm not sure what number of other mechs I would have. I know for sure the ones I want. So yeah, maybe a berserker is leading a squad of other guys.
So
yeah, have him like in the bushes, like just have him just in the bushes.
And have him hidden. Have him hidden. It's illegal.
Oh, it's illegal. You know what? You could put markers on in the grass. Like you don't have to tell them what's there.
Yeah.
You can just be like, hey, you know that scan ability?
Yeah.
If you should scan.
Maybe you teach them about that in the first encounter.
Yeah.
Oh, it could. Yep.
Ooh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Like I was gonna say, like it could be when we go to this map, I'll just have markers in some of the more forested areas, and some of them are just like, some of them could be nothing, but it could be a thing where like if they take a moment to scan,
Yeah.
like just something is pinging on their radars.
Yeah.
And they don't know exactly what it is until they actually take a look.
Yeah,
But I think, like,
and like
as
have
a lot
have some of them be grunts and have one of them be like that crazy axe guy. Like we don't know which one it is.
Invincible running.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fun.
But like, yeah, one Goliath, one bomb. The bombards could come later on, like as reinforcements from outside, like from. It looks like those turrets on the walls have like a like gate on them. It like pop out of that, you know, like a Goliath, Scour, 2 berserkers in the bushes, and then a bombard that comes up later. It might be good.
Oh, actually, yeah, because if the bombard comes up later, it can be wherever I want. Yeah.
Scrap the bombard, but have an engineer. No, those guys suck.
Oh.
No, those guys suck ass.
Yeah, that's out. Bunch of turrets.
Yeah, but you could have the turrets if you want. Just like the hatch thing was like, okay, maybe like the engineer is actually just controlling the base's turrets, and then the turrets will show up on those pots. Yeah, that might be kind of fun.
That's
It's
cool.
like- yeah.
So, like, would the engineer be on the field then somewhere?
I don't know. Maybe he's a dot. Like he's like he's like hiding.
Because it
He
could
be. Yeah. Yeah, it
But,
could be on the
like-
field. It could just be like an encounter thing, right?
Yeah, and then he's creating the deployable turrets at any of these turret posts. But then there's some, I don't know, some other thing on him that sort of balances that out. Because then he doesn't have to put the turrets where he is or within a range.
I think you have to put them adjacent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have to be
But,
deployed
I
in
mean,
adjacent
You
space.
can break that rule.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're playing in person. No one will know. It could be a thing that, like, the engineer is somewhere on the map, maybe just as a normal human, but has the ability to deploy turrets at any of these open turret spaces.
You know, you're gonna shoot that human though, right?
I mean, they have to know who's doing it and how it's happening, so
Oh yeah.
that could be another thing to figure out.
Yeah. Billy Bob could be like, they hijacked the base's defenses, right? They got like this super cracked dude out there somewhere.
Yeah. So Billy Bob. So what is Billy Bob telling them? Billy Bob can tell them a secret way in, and that they hacked the defenses.
Yeah, and that there's
Yeah.
civilians there that didn't escape.
Right. Also very important.
On the helipad.
Yeah, they were maybe attempting to mount an escape, and they only made it as far as the ships on the helipad.
Yeah.
And
then
they
it's
weren't able
like-
to take off.
But then it's like, you know, the hostiles can like, if like the players are approaching, maybe it's like they can move towards the civilians. So like, let's say you do end up having like a dude with the flamethrower. I mean, like if I was being attacked and be like, oh, you're gonna burn these hostages? Like,
Oh yeah. Or
You know what I
torch
mean?
the helicopters or some shit.
yeah.
So yeah, I could have I'll put some markers there or something, and some area effects that happen near there, like they will be in active danger.
Yeah, and it could just be like a narrative thing. I mean, you don't have to actually put health bars or anything like that.
No,
but
what
it's
the
like,
hell?
don't put a health bar on it. Yeah,
And,
put just say like, you know, you weren't able to rescue the civilians, or you are, or whatever. Like, you know, but it's just kind of like an option for people to be like, I care about people. I don't want people to get hurt.
Oh.
okay.
And yeah, that seems pretty defensible. I mean, you got the turret dude. Either find the turret dude and stop all the turrets. The turrets suck ass. But if you scan one of them and it turns out to be the crazy axe guy, then he just pops out and starts stabbing you. Like, I think you're like, oh no. And the Goliath is there mocking the shit out of you with his harsh words.
You
How
won't
much you
take our
suck.
coral.
Yeah, right. You got like the laser cannons. as well. Just kind of firing off if you would like. Like you can even have like it just be the mech, but it's like just bolted to the ground where it's like you can't.
Yeah.
It's it can't move. It's like plugged into the base or some shit. Like that's some cool stuff.
I like that.
Yeah, that's for sure what I want the Scour one to be. Okay, so now I feel like I have something to work off of here. So
sure.
we start off sort of maybe at dusk or something like that, where they're heading. The players have dropped off. They're informed that there's this base on this planet or moon or whatever. It produces this hyper-specific fuel that Union wants to make some use of, or they were making use of it, but now it's been cut off because it's been taken over by these pirate mech cultists who are like consuming the fuel.
The image I got was just like someone with a gas hose in their mouth.
Basically that.
Oh my god. Please go generate an image of or find an image of a person, like icon, a person with like a gas hose in their mouth. That's their icon.
Oh my god.
The cultists are called the Guzzlers.
Ooh.
That's pretty good.
Really good. The Guzzlers. So the Guzzlers taking over this refinery.
Let's go and drink some gas. Come on, Ramon. Let's go to the station. Go drink some gas.
I feel like that's like a commentary on like everyone's reliance on this thing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, here we go. There's our cool social commentary.
Enough. Okay, so the Guzzlers took over this refinery. Whatever dropship is dropping you off, they can't get like directly to it because there are some sort of anti-air defenses or whatever.
Turrets.
The turrets.
Turrets, man. Yeah, and the big ass fuck you laser that they have too. Like,
So you're dropped off further away. Union was in contact with someone, but they dropped out of contact at some point. They did report that they were able to leave resources behind if some competent pilots are able to show up.
Yes.
So the pilots show up, they do a recon sit rep where they're trying to find this equipment, as well as Bob Thornton, who, if they succeed, will inform them that there are hostages on the base and let them know of a different way in, as well as some information about how the turrets are working or the person who's taken them over.
Yeah.
And then that can determine where the players spawn when they get to the second map.
Maybe the Guzzlers are looking for Billy Bob Thornton, and that's why the players find him.
Oh yeah, because they could be like the enemy could be searching as well.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, so no one knows where he is, but if the players find him, they will succeed, and they may also be required to take out the rest of the enemy, or maybe the enemy will try to retreat at some point, and that can affect like the readiness, like if there's a turret already activated or something like that. So yeah, they do that, they get the information, and then they arrive at the base, and yeah, depending on which way they go in, there's a troop in the trees led by a berserker. There is a Scourer turret, or an engineer manning like smaller turrets as well. Is that too many turrets?
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Could be. It's up to you if you want like turrets, dudes with guns, like, you know.
Yeah.
I think like the idea, maybe you're right, maybe like one, or like either have one dude who has a nice gun, or like a dude with a bunch of guns, with smaller guns, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you
Just be
could
like
feel it out.
Should it just be like a regular Scourer?
Sure, like, yeah, I mean, you could have a regular Scour with a pulse thing and just
Yeah, pulse thing. Put the pulse thing.
put the pulse thing on it, right? And then yeah, I mean, you could also just like choose in the moment what you feel good. Like if you like ran one, if you're doing multiple sessions, you'd be like, oh, I did this one and this was a bad idea, I have a backup plan. Like
Maybe. Okay, so Scour, maybe turret at the front, Goliath in the base, Berserker in the trees with however many other dudes, and an engineer that can pop up a turret, but depending on alertness, might not have one active.
Yeah.
And then a couple of civilian ships, people who were trying to escape but aren't able to take off.
Yeah.
And
you
then
could probably have them extract the civilians as like a free action at the start or end of their turn when no enemies are adjacent.
Yeah.
Take them back to the start. They can just be like, all right, you can go run free now. I'll cover you.
Yeah. Or maybe like they actually have like, I don't know how you're gonna do this IRL, but maybe you could ask Payne. He has like a 3D printer, so maybe you could ask him to print you up some like little like tokens or something like that, like a helicopter or something, and then just like put them on the map. And then when you like they get there, you could just take them off and be like, oh, they were able to, you know, safely take off. Yeah.
Yeah. It could be a thing like, yeah, either the players have to distract the enemy or they have to move the, like I could borrow some of the mechanics from, what is it, Escort?
Yeah.
Like just the ability to move the thing.
I wouldn't even say move it. I would just say like if they're just like at the end of the round, if they're adjacent to them and there's no adjacent enemies, or something like that, they can take off. Right.
Because the issue with Escort sometimes is like you escort the thing and it takes you away from the action.
Right. Okay, so then I'll need like maybe 1 or 2 other enemies in that space just next to the helipad.
Oh.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The Goliath can shuffle his ass over there. Or like you could have like the Scourer be right there, and then like that's why they can't take off because the Scourer is right next to them.
Oh yeah. Actually, yeah, that's a good spot for him because then he does have a decent view of the rest of the area, and then there's maybe just something else on the other side.
Yeah, I would have the trees give soft cover. The water is difficult terrain. The trees are difficult terrain. I think there's like a little bit of elevation around the sides here.
Yeah, the
Maybe
base is
like
elevated. I don't know how clear it is in the picture, but the base is elevated.
Yeah, so then you could like have them, and there's like one side that's lower, right? There's like a looks like a road at the top, so you could have them like jump up or climb up or something like that. Yeah.
Like the way it's made, like the road goes up as a ramp, but the base itself, it's like, it's like elevated.
Yeah, and then have like the Goliath kind of man that middle section there. He takes up most of that space anyway. So like, yeah, that totally makes sense to me. Like maybe like as a reward, if they do super well, maybe they can like start closer. That might be kind of cool, or at the back or something. Yeah.
Yeah, depending on how the first one goes. And then so they get in here.
Like deal with the engineer or something. But then when those berserkers move to the other side, that's when shit gets popping.
Yeah, when they get in there. Depending, but I guess that also depends on what side the players start on. I guess it's not very likely for the players to start on the left. I feel like they'll probably succeed that recon, right?
Maybe
you can give them the option to have one of them start there. Like I don't know, like give them so it's like they all can't start on the right side.
Yeah.
So they can risk it if they want. Like
yeah, and it might. Yeah, I mean, it might pay off. You know.
So would it be like there's more cover on the left because it's a forested area, so you're more likely to do a stealthy entrance there, but you got to keep an eye out for their patrols. But if you go on the right, it's a quicker way in, but there's no cover, so it's more obvious.
And also, like, you're gonna go straight into, like, if you go to like the southern part, like you're closer to rescuing the civilians, so that could be an option if they would like to do that, and be quicker.
Yeah.
But like the other one will tie up the not the bombard, the Goliath faster, right? Like you can get into engagement with that dude if you want to work something out. But I think the biggest deal is to give the players the option, like being like, you choose your what fate you want to do, and then that will give them. I think that'll be the fun for them, right? Kind of like having that moment, be like, oh, cool, I picked the fast mech, so I'm gonna go start over here, so then I can get up the ramp real quick and deal with the stuff.
Okay, so maybe that's not something Billy Bob tells them. Maybe that's just like a tactical thing they get to figure out. However, the first combat goes.
Well, the Billy Bob can tell them the lay of the land
until they find out narratively.
Yeah.
Like he can definitely tell them about like either the engineer or that there's people within the grassy areas. But then like either like however things go, like players will have the opportunity to decide their approach to this combat.
Yeah. And if maybe they decide to approach from the top or the bottom, you can just have them roll one skill check and warn them that there's like no cover from the top and the bottom behind the base. So if you fail, you take one structure.
Yeah, like a narrative thing between the two maps. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know who's gonna sign up for these games. Like maybe it's a lot of people who've played Lancer before or not. Like I don't know. It could just be brand new people, but like yeah, just gauge that too.
Well, there was a lot of people who were playing games for the first time, like certain games for the first time when I was there. Like when I did the Pathfinder stuff, it was people who had played before, but everything else, it was like there was at least a few people who were playing the game for the first time, either when I was running something or playing something. There was always new people there.
Yeah,
That's kind of what
I don't know.
happened.
I don't know how like they sign up for. If maybe they like if there's a way to maybe like ask them if they've played Lancer before, on like whatever the sign up form is. So you have an idea of like people who've played before, people who haven't. Like and you could gauge like that. Have like a contingency plan in place.
There is a way to ask questions and get a response. I just don't know. I haven't seen like how it actually works. So, I mean, that might give me a good gauge of how complex I can make this. But I think what we have right now, it'll let them lean into the mech fantasy. It'll give them a bunch of options, and I think a recon thing, I can lean more into like narrative stuff with that, even though it's sort of a on map sort of thing.
Yeah.
I can even just have like a short theater of the mind encounter prior to that. Okay. Well, I feel a lot more confident now.
I think it's I'd want to play it.
Actually, you know what? Just kind of last minute here at the end, but like I know we're like almost hour 20 minutes. But I was thinking like maybe like the classic like you have to find your mech, maybe that kind of deal. Maybe like you are separated and like. The thing could be like the first bit. You still have the map if you would like to have like a visual or something like that, but like have them like play as them on the ground, and you're basically trying to recover your mechs. And like the quicker they get to do it, the back to being the core power thing. Like the guzzlers or whatever, they like to like siphon gasoline. Like maybe they're like draining your core powers. So like the quicker you get to your mechs, the less likely they'll drain your core powers.
That's cool. Because they need to power the turrets.
Yeah.
And the giant lasers.
Yeah. And then like, based on like how many mechs get their core powers drained or whatever, that's like how you would be able to like make the difficulty higher, because then it's like, they would have less turrets, but and players have more core power access.
Yep.
Vice versa, that kind of stuff. So I know it'll give like the weight of like the narrative scene and the impact on the tactical battle, right? That's that kind of thing. That was just like, I was like, oh wait, you could just do that. And then it'll give people like a reason to use their triggers because they're out their mechs. So they won't have to rely on those like mech skills. They don't have to rely on their people skills.
Yep.
Okay. I wonder if I can make that work, because I do like it. I'm just a little concerned about like if some people don't have their core powers, or how people are going to feel not hopping in mechs right away.
That's true.
But I like the idea. I mean, that could be a thing that I just yoink for something else.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Because I feel like if people sign up for a Lancer game, they're gonna want to
get in a mech.
Yeah.
Shinji.
Yeah.
And the robot.
That's fair enough.
I mean, unless they're playing as people from this planet, that could work.
Yeah.
Because then they're trying to get two machines that they could use, and it's not like they're not like hired mercs or something. They live here.
They are pre-gen, so you could do that.
Yeah. They have a little backstory, a little blurb. Somehow they're a farmer or something. Like.
That could be a narrative thing. I don't know if that, like, maybe not on the map, but that could be a narrative thing, getting to the mechs.
Oh, it could be, yeah.
And then short thing maybe of dealing with whoever was guarding the mech. And then they're like among them, they would know that Billy Bob Thornton managed to get out and was trying to contact for help. And he has access to power that the mechs could use. And then that's when we go to the other map with the recon, and then we lead into the other stuff.
Yeah, that sounds like the beginnings of like a campaign. Billy Bob Thorne escaped before mechs that he couldn't pilot, so he was going looking for lancers that he heard were somewhere arriving to give the mechs to pilot to come take over the guzzlers.
Yeah.
Get those guzzlers out of here. Those damn guzzlers.
Okay, that's something to work with. All right. Well, I've got a lot of writing to do, but I feel like I have something to actually write now.
Nice.
I feel a lot better about all of this.
Sounds promising.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to work with here. I think there's a lot of player option stuff here, which is what I really wanted. Because, like, I wanted to... the advice I was given was just running one thing multiple times instead of trying to make multiple games. Because originally I was thinking I'll make 2 games and just run 2 sessions of something. But instead of that, I could just make one, spend all that time on one, and run it twice.
Some options on it.
Yeah. Because I think there's going to be enough people there that I'm not going to have to worry about, like, repeating too much.
Yep.
Okay. Is there anything else either of you wanted to mention before we roll into the outro of this episode? Again, whenever we have a guest episode, they're always a super long one because we always like to talk. So.
Yeah. No, not really. No, not really. Oh, I'm writing for Lancer Tactics. That's cool. Maybe expect that shit to come out sometime soon.
Yeah. I have the coin here in front of me, actually. It's been on my desk forever.
I should be writing right now, but I'm not, so whatever.
Yeah, we kind of borrowed you.
I was like, whatever.
Yeah, Trey, is there anything you want to shout out before we head off? You did mention Mechanized Body.
Yeah, me and Ramon are working on a tabletop role-playing card-based TTRPG that's making promising progress. Would you say, Ramon?
Yeah, I think so too. There's a lot of progress being made on that game. Like, I don't know what we could share at this moment, but I guess
whatever you want.
Join. Yeah, like, yeah, go follow us on X or whatever, Twitter, and like that's where we put up most of the updates. And I think like I don't know how Akua Station works, but get on there if you want to sign up for games. I know, Shaka, you're running a campaign right now of like Mechanized Bodies, so if you want to try out a cool card-based mecha sci-fi tactics game, tabletop tactics game, like that's where you're gonna be able to play it firsthand, right?
For sure. Yeah, I might post. I was just editing the video that we played with yesterday, so I might post it on YouTube this weekend.
Yeah,
perfect. Then I should be able to link to it.
Oh yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, so expect that. Yes.
Cool. All right, so if you're checking this out on YouTube, go ahead and scroll down and check out Mechanized Body. I'll have a link to the video, and I could also add an invite link to the Akua Station Discord, so people can go there for more information. Also down there is a link to all of the other Lancer writers and creators that we've talked to. So if you are into the Lancer RPG, and if you've listened to this whole episode, I'm going to assume you are, definitely go and check out their stuff because it's really cool. In addition, I want to shout out the Untold Stories Project, who I will be running this game with next year, but I am also in several of their streams, as well as the new short series featuring the Cthulhu Awakens system. We just had our first session. There's a lot of mystery going on, so come by and check out our Scooby-Doo shenanigans with just a hint of crime.
Nice.
Additionally, on our channel, there are gaming streams that are going on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, going through Baldur's Gate 3, Armored Core 6, which is working, which I'm very happy for. It stopped working after the patch, and then it decided to start working, so I'll take it. And on Sundays, The Evil Within, playing a horror game for the next few weeks. So, a lot of stuff going on here. But that's about it. For all of our GMs and players out there, just remember to keep on winning with dice, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Adios.